Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I have some disturbing news that I learned today. We went up to Tagbilaran. Our visitor, Victor, and Brian and Maricel, our friends and neighbours, we all went up to Tagbilaran. I had some stuff that I had to pick up there and offered the guys a lift. So they went out and did their stuff, and so did I. And while we were at our little meeting place, which I always like to have a backup plan, you know, if there's more than a couple of people, especially with children, I always say, if in doubt and you get lost, don't look for me, just go straight to, and then we pick a place like Jollibee, or if they're adults, we talk about doing it at, say, the coffee houses, which are on the corner, all in the same proximity as Jollibee. So, we were sitting there when a friend of and a subscriber of ours, Wayne, came by and he told us this piece of disturbing news. So I'll give it to you as he told me, and I should tell you that right now it was supposedly, it's against the law, but it's a restriction that seems to be coming in and has been reported by several people, all expats. Now, as we all know, expats live here in a tourist visa situation. That means that when they arrive here, they have a 30-day, this is under normal circumstances, they have a 30-day freebie visa. They have a 30-day freebie visa. In my experience, the next visa when they renew is 30 days, which they pay for, and then after that they are entitled, apparently by law, to extend every 2 months. Well, the news that I got, and this was backed up to some degree by Wayne, by his experience as well, and that is an expat returning from one of his trips, and they looked at his passport at immigration and said, how many times have you, what's your connection with the Philippines? And he says, well, I have, in this particular case, and this was the actual case, I have a girlfriend here, we have 2 children, and I have a condo in wherever it was. And they said, well, you're not a tourist. So he says, well, I am a tourist. It's under the law, I'm entitled, as long as I haven't been doing anything bad or out of the way, anything unlawful, I'm entitled to renew every 2 months, and that's my understanding of the law. They said, well, that way may well be, but we're not going to continue to do this. So the only way that you can stay is by having that bonded retire. I think it's called a retirees visa, and I think it's about, according to Wayne, because he looked into it, Wayne said that it was around $20,000. So that's a great deal of money to have tied up for most people. But that goes into a bond, it's still your money, but you have to have that money spare, of course. Now, in our particular case, our friend wasn't ready. He was told the same thing. By the way, Wayne was told the same thing. He came back into Cebu. Although he lives out on the outskirts of Tagbilaran with his girlfriend. His MO is that what he likes to do, he still has a home in the UK, and he goes there, and I think he spends between 4 and 8 months away, and then he comes back, and he comes back through Thailand, and there's more on Thailand in a moment. So he was coming back, and they were asking him, well, how many times, and then they look in his passport. There's no secrets there. You can tell exactly how many times he's renewed a visa in his passport. So So, well, we're not going to allow this to happen, and either you should be married to a Filipina or you should be on the retiree's visa, which, as I said, involves the holding in a bond of a great deal of money. Well, in this particular case, this man said, well, there's not very much you can say to an official of immigration when they're telling you that this is how it is. So you can quarrel all you like with somebody who is in immigration, but let me tell you something, that in almost any immigration in the world, not that I've been all over the world, but in America, and I believe in the UK, an official, it's one of those unusual jobs where they go very much on gut reaction. And an official of immigration, especially, and I know this for a fact because I had an experience of this in China. If an immigration official just looks at you, and that second look, you know, maybe they've got the third eye, certainly they've often got the evil eye, and they don't like you. And literally, it can be like this. I'm not going to renew this. No. And they just refuse it. Now, if you were to, let's be silly for a moment, if you were to say, why is that? If the guy opened up and was completely honest with you and said, I don't know, there's something funny about you, I don't like your eyebrows. Now, you then would ask, if this were a private company and you were being refused a particular service, you'd say, I'd like to speak to your supervisor. And let's assume that the supervisor is brought. You would, in normal circumstances, said, I don't think it's fair that I should have my service revoked because of my eyebrows. And probably for the sake of logic, for the sake of sanity, the supervisor would say, what's this about the man's eyebrows? And it would be cancelled, and you would be granted the service, whatever it was. Right, here's the difference when you go into immigration. They can say to their supervisor, I don't know, there's something about this guy's eyebrows and it just doesn't feel right. And guess what the supervisor will say? Hey, okay. The man who dislikes, or woman that dislikes your eyebrows, does not have to justify his decision. He is there to go on what he thinks will happen if you are granted your visa. And in the case of America, my belief was, and my experience supported this belief, that they have somebody who is a no to the visa person. Some woman who has continuous bad hair days, or some guy who just doesn't get on well with people, and he or she is there to refuse everybody that they see on no other justification than something that they decide is necessary. When I tried to get my then wife into America on a marriage visa, we were already married at that time, and I went to the Chinese embassy in Guangzhou, and this supports what I'm saying, which is why I'm bringing it up. Why are we suddenly in China when we were a minute ago in Philippines? Well, it's a horse of the same colour. So I sat with other people. My wife had been turned down in an interview, and there was absolutely no reason. We conformed to all of the requirements. We were truly married. We had enough money to live on. I had a house, I had a place to live, and I had work. We should not have been turned down. There was an age difference, and something made that that no visa person turn us down. So I'm sitting, the next day their policy was you could go into the embassy the next day in Guangzhou, the one that had turned down your application for your wife or fiance, and you could say why. So I'm sitting there waiting for my turn to go, and I've got a group of Americans around me, and obviously we start talking. So, you were refused? Yes, I was. And we all told our stories, and the most preposterous reasons were put forward. One man said that they had demanded more photographs of his children. He was married and had been going back and forth to America and living part in China, part in America. And he had been going back and forth, and they said, no, we're going to turn this down because we'd like to see more photographs of your children when they were younger. So that was that. He'd already supplied them with a portfolio of family photographs taken over the years, but that wasn't good enough. He was on the no list. The next one that I spoke to was a young man that had lived in China for about 8 or 10 years, had a 6-year-old son with his Chinese wife, and they had lived there and worked there in China. Now he wanted to go home, and they were demanding that he have an actual address to go to. His parents were still alive and were quite happy to put him up, but he had to have an address of his own to go to. Otherwise, sorry, no. That was another one. But the other one that just seemed absolutely ridiculous was a sheriff from a town in the Midwest. And when we talked to him, and he said, well, I'm a sheriff, and he mentioned the town, which didn't mean a lot to me then, and probably still wouldn't, but it was in a smaller town in the Midwest, and he was a sheriff there, a working sheriff, and now I am a sheriff, now sheriff. And so what's your story, sheriff? Well, they want to see the original invoice of my credit card for my ticket out here. His original invoice showing how he paid for his ticket on his credit card. That's kind of making I don't like your eyebrows sound even logical, isn't it? So, I think for my money we've established that the immigration are a law of their own, and they do what they like, and they're not accountable other than to say, I don't know, this just didn't feel right. Okay? So that's the best case scenario for how they would reason out what they've decided about your life. Okay, so back to the Philippines, and what these people are being told is, well, yes, we know that, well, the law, yeah, but we're not going to let you do this, so you've got 30 days. So the man that they're telling this to has got a couple of children and a common law wife, and he owns a condo. Now, my friend that was telling me this information is about to move to another part of the Philippines to live, one that is a little bit more, shall we say, American-oriented, and somewhere that he would really like to live, and it's on the main island of Luzon. And he's about to sign a lease on a new apartment. They're right on the brink of moving. And now they're telling him that the next time that he comes up to ask for a renewal, they're going to give him 30 days and get out. That's what he's been told. Now, my take on this is that maybe this is just in Cebu, but that's my take on it, and that's my opinion. And I always say go to the source. But here's here's the way that I suggest it might be handled if you are in panic on this being the case, unless you've got 20 grand in dollars to put up to secure your future, or unless you're married. Well, my friend said, it's not that I don't want to marry, because he's got this wonderful lady and 2 adorable children, which he has accepted as his own. And it's, as he said, I'm not against marrying. I love this lady, and I'm very grateful for having her. But I don't want to marry for the wrong reasons. That I've been told you better get married. So he said, I'm in a little bit of concern about what the actual situation will be. And as I say, my take, which I was about to tell you before I started wondering again, and like that, is that you go along to a quieter place like Tagbilaran, and the office at Tagbilaran is a lot calmer a situation. It's not the madhouse that Cebu is. So you can get the ferry across to Atafi in a bus for a few hundred pesos. And you can go into the office at Tagbilaran, and they'll give you the form, and you put the form in, and you say nothing about any fears, and nothing about any concerns, and nothing about anything that may have been told to you in another office. And you simply say, when they say to you, how long is it for? Oh, 2 months is fine. And you get your 2 months. Now, what this man who suffered this initial loss of confidence, what he did was, he actually went to a bona fide agency that would handle this kind of thing, travel agency, and he told them what had happened, and they gave him a photocopy of the law, not of any immigration official saying, no, I'm not going to do this, not the no, I've had a bad hair day official who's not going to grant it to anybody, but the law. And he went back to immigration at the airport apparently and said, this is the law. And they said the equivalent of, well, it doesn't really matter, it's your eyebrows, sir. So it might be worth looking into, but my suggestion would be that you don't go there and tell your tale of woes to the young lady behind the counter, or one of the 2 young ladies that's behind the counter in, say, Tagbilaran, and tell them, well, you know that they're doing this and that in Cebu, and they're saying that we can... No, I wouldn't do that. I would just go along there. It's the same old Tuesday that I always come in, and I just need to... It's going to run out in a week, and I'm always a good boy. Can you just give me another 2 months extension? And don't say anything about any fears or hassles. And then we'll just find out whether this is purely a personal thing that's gone around Cebu, the airport at Cebu, and have a look and listen carefully to what's being said to you, and then decide what you want to do. Now, in my friend's case, as I said, he has no objection to getting married. What he's afraid of is he's heard about the hassles and the delays of getting married, and there are considerable delays and hassles and hang-ups, and he was at one wedding that had a real horror story because the judge was on his cell phone all the time and kept 100 people waiting in the heat for so long that it dwindled down to just a few family members and very close friends. And then during the ceremony, such as it is, he answered his cell phone like this and signed the documents like that. Absolutely disgraceful behaviour in any country in the world, but that happened. So my friend is actually concerned that he might find himself with 30 days and get out, and not enough time to get the thing together to be able to get married, which he is willing to do. So my take on that is that if you had started the procedure and had registered in some way, you would have more than 30 days. If your intent was clear that you were about to get married, I don't know, invite the immigration official to the wedding. But you need to have some kind of registering of the intent, and I'm sure within a month you would be able to do that. You would be able to have documents notarized, and then if it came to it and you needed to go into, say, Tagbilaran and say, look, my visa running out in a week is going to interfere with me getting married. Oh, by the way, would you like to come to the wedding? I think that you would be fine, even if they were being draconian in their way of dealing with this. So I hope that this helps. I don't want to panic anybody. For myself, I'm a little concerned, but not too concerned, because I have a Balikbayan visa, and that's still valid for probably another 9 months, during which time I intend to get we've got most of all of our requirements actually, and we're going to be filing for my resident visa. Okay, so pardon my croaky voice. I got a bad cough that I don't seem to be able to get rid of, and that's the reason that my voice is even lowering than usual. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now. And it seems to me that expat-wise this seems to be important. It's probably being reported by other people, and who knows, much better than I. But my suggestions might be of some help to you. I believe that all that you have to keep doing is going back until you find a person who says yes instead of no. And I'm sure that you can do that. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Bye for now.